Hello guys, welcome back to the AKREX channel and welcome to my show. I'm glad to have you here, really glad that we already have some people joining in. And for the first time on the channel I have... Oh, hello there, General Kenobi. Right, so for the first time on my channel I have Mike from Canada. He's a sculptor. And I'll scroll up a little bit here. These are two pieces that I have purchased, which I have finished assembling and painting already. I have two more of his pieces that are still not painted yet. But anyway, welcome Mike. How are you today? Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah, welcome to the show, mate. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
All right. So what are you doing right now? What's happening in your process of creativity? Tell us a little bit.
I'm trying to figure out how Discord works while I'm working on my Spinosaurus.
Okay. Well, so long as we can hear you talk and get you close to the mic, that's what we want the most.
Yeah.
And of course, I want the Spinosaurus too.
Yeah. Well, the second ago, why did that cut out? Was that you who cut out, or was that me?
I have no idea. It might just be internet being dumb, but it happens since it's
Okay. Because I don't know if it's my phone that went off. Anyway, I can switch to my other thing if need be. Anyway.
At the moment it's okay, and also your audio is quite good, I think. And if anything, guys in the chat, if there something goes bad, just let us know that you cannot hear us or whatever. We'll be keeping an eye anyway. So for the moment, everybody says that everything's good, so let's go ahead. So Mike, how long have you been basically into this? How long have you been a sculptor for?
I actually forget. I think 3 years. 3 years about around now.
So you're trying to tell me, let me get this straight, you're trying to tell me that you have been doing this about, I don't know, see, I'm a 35-year-old dude. I know for a fact you're younger than me. You have been doing this for 3 years, so I'm trying to do the math. I've been doing this since I was about 6. And somehow you're better than me. How does that work?
I don't know. I don't even like everyone's like, oh, you're such a great artist and stuff. I was like, I don't even see it as art. I just I don't know. You're trying to emulate what you see on a.
I think maybe it comes, it's one of those things that sometimes when you just sit down and you do it and it just comes to you. You don't even know how it happened.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I always say to people, like, give it a shot. And, everyone's like, oh, I'm not going to be as good as you. And it's like, just give it a try. Yeah, you're not going to be very good at the start. But, if you just stick at it, you just constantly try and improve. And, I guess for me, the biggest thing is, just acknowledge your failure. That would be my biggest point, I guess. It's see your shortcomings and then you know where to focus and how to improve.
So can I cite that very interesting example? How many times have you restarted your Spinosaurus Tyrannosaurid?
That one only 4 times.
Only 4 times?
Yeah. And then the Tyrannosaurus, I'm probably close to a dozen times for that one.
Oh my god.
And then I'm looking at a Regaloceratops head, and that was probably my 3rd or 4th version. And I'm still not happy with that one. So, as I say, it's acknowledge your failure and then try and improve, I guess.
I notice you're very good at generally seeing and understanding other people's work. So whenever I notice when we talk in our separate forum where we, in a group chat where we talk about art specifically and people share their sculpts and stuff, and you seem to be one of those who really give a very spot on feedback. So the reason I say this is because if it weren't for you, I think I would not have actually made a very good Leptoceratops, and I would have probably ended up with an Ankylosaurus with a proportionally huge head.
Yeah. I don't know, yeah. As I say, compliments are nice, but they're not particularly helpful. It's always good to give I sort of wish people got better at giving negative feedback, but not in a negative way. That makes sense.
It makes sense. I mean,
Positive,
it means that
positive,
we're,
negative feedback.
yeah, positively negative view. That's right.
Yeah, because
Speaking of, speaking of which, what is it we see all the time? You know, when we go on places like Instagram or we go to Facebook sometimes, but I noticed there's this thing going on, Mike, that whenever you point something out, and you genuinely mean well, most of the times we do anyway, at least, I don't know, and people just, all of a sudden we become these really bad people, with different endings, giving you a hint with an ist and a phobe of some sort.
yeah, yeah. As I said, yeah, like everyone gives compliments, but no one gives criticism. So when they take criticism, they don't know how to take it, and likewise, they don't know how to give it. And when I do, yeah, when I see it given by other people, it's usually in a very passive aggressive sort of, yeah, sort of very negative way. Because, yeah, they don't know how to give it. And then, yeah, when people receive it, they assume it's an attack on them, they take it personally, and so on.
And the funny part is, when those who tend to frequently accuse people of being passive aggressive in their attempts to give them constructive criticism, they are actually quite frequently the ones who do exactly what they accuse other people of doing. So it's a classic form of projection.
Yeah, I was going to say projection. And I mean, I guess sometimes we can probably come off a little crass, but like at the same time, it does get a bit tiresome telling people there's literally not a single shred of evidence for filaments on a Tyrannosaurid, so that gets a little tiring trying to tell people that. So I guess sometimes it's a little aggressive.
So it's the same thing. I noticed that as of late I decided to pretty much cut down on my engagement towards online discussions of this sort, and unless of course I can see that there is potential to have a good conversation.
Yeah.
Most of the times it's not worth it, and I decided that instead what I will do is I will make note of what I've seen, and I'll just bring up these topics in live sessions like we are doing it now, and just address them and talk to them and let people hear, let people ask questions, and let people make up their own minds. Why do we have to tell people what to think about it if we can just analyze it, give it to them, and let them just make their own decisions, because I think that's the main point. So
yeah, it definitely doesn't work telling people.
And besides, I think it kind of puts us in this kind of position without us realizing it, that we are somehow declaring to be arbiters of something, which we are actually not. But sometimes without us being aware of it, we can actually end up in that position unwillingly. And I admit that I may have ended up in this position several times, although against what I would have thought that it would not have been my conscious choice to end up in that position. It just kind of happened that way. Due to
definitely
variety of reasons.
I definitely feel uncomfortable when I come off. It's like I'm trying to be an expert when I'm not an expert. But like, it's simple things. Anyone can sort of look at a skull and see, oh, those horns are there, etc. So it does a bit of an awkward balance, I guess, trying not to come off as some expert, but just trying to give some helpful pointers. I do like to defer to experts, like, oh, if you don't believe me, like, go and ask someone who actually studies these things. I don't mean it as an appeal to authority like they will often use. It's just like, don't listen to me, go look into it yourself, sort of thing.
Yeah, I'll try to say the same thing. It's just that just because I said it, don't think of it as he said this. Think of what is actually being said and just go out there and explore the argument,
Yeah.
So
and ask people who really are more knowledgeable than me or them.
The funny thing is, this is what me and Jeffrey rant about quite a lot as well, and we have already brought this up on my channel, is there is quite an interesting borderline when it comes to the whole appeal to authority, because that in itself does not make a good argument. What
No.
can be helpful, and this is why I like to discuss these things with actual experts in the field, is they help you to navigate better among the data. They can
Yeah.
translate the data for you. So instead of actually saying,
Mhm.
what in your opinion is this and this, the more correct questions a lot of time, I personally think, is to point out specific piece of data and ask them to translate it to and explain what that actually means.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
It's
'Cause,
like
yeah,
I
there's a
try to
lot.
get them to translate the information to me, like I do it with Jason, because if
Mhm.
you read that paper, remember about the evolution of feathers of 2009 by
Yeah.
Daniel Duali? That's 20 pages of text. A lot of
Mhm.
technical text, which is mostly focused on biology and biochemistry. It's not even as much paleontology in itself.
Yeah.
And you would need to actually be very well literate and versed in this type of
Mhm.
field to understand what that means. And the only reason I'm able to cite it correctly now is because Jason literally, me and him had a chat at one point, and I just said, you know what? There's so much stuff
Mhm.
there, Jason. Can I ask you to do me a favor? He's like, yeah, what is it? I'm like, can you just translate a few bits and pieces there for me in
Yeah.
English? He just laughed it off and be like, okay, give me 20 minutes. So,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's definitely very esoteric if you're not
oh yeah,
really into it all the time, or yeah, get a official education in it, which is a lot of work.
yeah, it's a lot of work. So shall we address some stuff here? We've got some things in the chat, and we've got this
Okay.
screenshot of the Triceratops head. And can you tell us more about this one? What is this? How old is this? And is it your current work in progress, or have you been remaking it since then?
Where is this? Oh, that one's an old one. But yeah, where's that? I started trying to paint that one, but I never actually finished painting it. I think I did two more after that one, and then I'm still not happy with the most current one. So I'm probably gonna redo that one. Where's that one? That one's there it is on my shelf. Yeah, I'm gonna
Right.
redo that one.
So
So
are you gonna be redoing the head as well, or you just wanna redo the torso and body only?
the head, like
The head, right? Okay.
right from right from scratch. Like I do have a body armature I had originally intended. Actually, I think I have two. Um, or wait, no, I have three.
3, right? Okay.
There's
Guys,
three
in
of them.
case you haven't noticed, we're losing count on the armature stocks that Mike is holding right now in his home.
No, there's one. I mean, I guess there might be technically four, but or more.
But really,
But anyway, well,
technically, there may be 6.
point is, I'm going to redo it.
Yeah, you're
Whoa.
going to redo it.
Yeah,
So yeah, there's a
like
very interesting look at this one. Have you read this comment? If you think about it, Arsene, it's basically Darth Vader. Because he originally supported the idea of feathers on Tyrannosaurus, but then he turned to the dark side, which is the right side, obviously,
yeah, yeah.
because dark side rules all the way. Star Wars is Jedi propaganda, but we're not getting into that.
Yeah. No comment.
Yeah, no comment. But yay, lols. So what else? You mentioned also that you wanted you're doing what's it called, the Spinosaurus, right? Based on the
Yeah,
recent paper, right?
yeah, doing the weird little. It's actually kind of small at 120, but yeah, and it's gonna be sort of in a swimming pose, and hopefully that translates well. But it's definitely very weird to work on, but definitely want to get it
I
finished.
might you know what, I think I might eventually, not yet, but I am very sort of itchy with my fingers to do a
To do
proper
a
one
full
to
size one.
yeah, to do a
Yeah,
proper 75 centimeter, yeah.
yeah, no thanks.
But
That's
the thing is, I don't know yet how to pose it even if I were to go about it? Like, how do I
Mhm.
position it so that when I split it
Well,
into the pieces, so it's possible to mold it in my pressure
yeah.
pot?
No, I definitely think that's rotocast.
Yeah, this
Like
is a classic
rotocast.
rotocast thing. Because
Mhm.
you need
Like,
the hollow inside thing, but I mean we'll see
mhm.
what it is. I mean Spino is a slender one anyway, so we'll
Mhm.
have to wait and see how it works out. Because I mean
Yeah.
right
Like,
now, oh there we are.
yeah. Like, of course, that one's a little outdated, but
Yeah, with the
that one's
tail.
120. That one's 120th scale, and I think like the big size, not to be rude. And then there was this one that never got finished, which actually sort of pretty accurate.
Burrito
Um,
tail. Guys, I'm loving the roast. I'm absolutely loving the roast. Burrito tail. I can't die. That dying is a Jedi propaganda. Totally. Dying is overrated. So, wait, hold on. This is not yours, is it? This one that you just sent
no,
here.
this is by Prey Collection. I
Ah,
forget
okay,
his
yeah.
name. He usually does 3D models, like digital prints, but for this one he's doing, I don't know, but it's 2 years old. I don't think he ever finished it.
Oh, here come the roast. Here come the roast. In the chat. Yeah, well, I could see as soon as the pictures dropped, there was just like a feed started activating immediately. And then it's like, oh, what's up with those arms? I don't want to be rude, but seriously, this. Well, I mean, this is my show after all, so it's all about being honest. I have a
I
question to
like
God. Why?
for the quadrupedal stance. I liked Tracy's skeletal, which instead of having it on the knuckles, just had it on the palms, like a. I wondered how accurate or doable that is, as opposed to walking on the knuckles. Like, do
I
we have
think
any?
it might be problematic in the sense that, well, I mean, problematic as in I don't know how problematic yet. What I
Mm-hmm.
do suspect is you would have to test the hypothesis of whether or not their wrists and palms could be bent that way
For
without
sure.
breaking.
Yeah, but like, I mean, that would be if they did. That would be pretty
If they did that,
standard.
yeah.
It'd be pretty standard Archosaur um, style, as opposed to knuckles. I don't think.
Yeah,
Is there a
I've
single?
never really been into the knuckle walking personally. It's
Yeah.
just not a Archosaur thing, as far as I
No.
understand. Because if you look
Yeah.
at,
No.
for example, if you look at pterosaurs when they land on ground, when they walk, right, their
Yeah.
digits they do actually bend to a certain degree, so they can actually lean on them perfectly fine without any issue.
Yeah. So none of them are on their knuckles, right?
Yeah, but none of them are on their knuckles. That's the thing. They're all just spread
Yeah.
on the flat on the ground. So
Mhm.
we have to actually try to test the model, which is actually interesting
Mhm.
because that could explain how it can just walk around short distances.
Here's Tracy's, for example.
Yeah, let's have a look. All right, okay, let's open this up. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like the traditional basal archosauromorph
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Exactly.
So basically,
Or
we have
sort
a
of.
quadruped, but in an archosaur
Mhm.
style. If anything,
Yeah.
this is the one I would buy into, maybe.
Yeah. But yeah. As I'm curious how doable that would be. I know he did make a comment how it looked like they were pretty not flexible, but yeah, I guess flexible. But yeah, we'd have to do some. Well, others would have to do some digging into that to find out.
Yeah, if only. Spinosaurus is a classic example of this
Mhm.
really iconic, famous taxon, and yet there's just not much known about it at all for something
Mhm.
that is very.
Yeah.
I can't tank the bare hands. get the looker. I'm telling you, my subscribers, they're like, as I say on my channel, they learn from the best, all right?
Yeah.
They fight with the strength of 10 regular people out there, just so you know. So we got an army here, basically.
Yeah.
So what else is interesting that's going on in your sculpting world right now, aside from Spinosaurus? Is there anything else that you are currently working on?
I'm nearly done the Utahceratops. I just need to decide when I'm done. I'm doing the detailing and I'm mostly there on the legs and tip of the tail and feet. I mixed up how I did it just because I like to hold the sculpt, and so holding it I'm gonna smudge the details, so I left the legs bare while I did the body, and now the body's done and I'm onto the legs.
It's like a partial base sculpting when you use some bare pieces to hold on to, and then once you bake the other layer, you then just finish sculpting that, then you bake that again, and it's a done deal.
Yeah, exactly. And then, I'm almost there, and then I need to chop it up.
Oh yeah, chopping it up will be interesting to see.
But I did it a bit weird this time. Like I stressed the armature wire at the legs, or at the hind legs. I stressed the wire a bit, so it shouldn't take too much to stress it until it breaks. And with the front legs, I sort of stuck them straight into the armature, so if I cut around enough, I should be able to just pull it straight out.
Yeah, makes sense.
But we'll see if that actually happens. I feel like it's going to crack a bit in places, but otherwise, I do.
One of our fellow sculptors, sorry, did I interrupt?
No,
I was gonna say Jason, what's his name, from Dinosaur Dungeon. You might guys know who he is.
Jay.
Yeah, Jay, and he has mentioned several times that when you are basically chopping these pieces up, sometimes the outer layers can crack and you will have to patch them up again.
Mm-hmm.
And this happened to me before too.
Especially when I'm using Sculpey Original underneath. That actually stays together. It's a weaker clay once it's cured, but at the same time it doesn't quite crack like Sculpey does. The Sculpey layer will tend to crack quite a bit more and sort of flake off a bit, which is annoying. But I mean, I can usually glue it back on without too much difficulty or sculpt over.
So I presume this will be your next upcoming model kit, or you're not sure whether you're going to release it yet?
No, I hope my silicone's still good to use, but I definitely want to get on that sooner than later.
It will be really nice because I've got your Leptoceratops right above there. In case those who have just joined, this is the Leptoceratops up there. You will probably if you watch the video, you'll see that I just zoomed in on it. And it's gonna be a nice addition to the collection of Kaiparovitz formation, because Utahceratops comes from the same formation. Although Nasudo, I think, is slightly later dated stratigraphically, but based on the limited amount of specimens, it's quite hard to differ yet, because the sample size is quite small yet. So But it would be nice to see the collection, come together. And also, I've got my Deinosuchus made. I just haven't made it into a kit yet, because that's gonna be expensive as hell to do.
I feel like if you do it right, it shouldn't be too bad.
I just need some time to save up a little bit, because right now I'm currently focusing on the Ankylosaurus, which I've done. And I've got one customer already who paid for pre-order. So I should... Sorry?
Which one?
Ankylosaurus. Ankylosaurus, or I don't know how the fuck you pronounce it, sorry, but it's the one from Two Medicine Formation. It's I'll spell it actually here.
Achilles,
This one.
I know what you mean. I never really see, or I guess hear the names said.
I'm not used to hearing them a lot either, but trust me, I'm in the same boat.
What is that? Oh yeah, I know what you mean now. Oh, who ordered that? I'm guessing I know who.
Yeah, there are still the bare hands memes going in. Dude, they're not gonna let this go. They're
Mhm.
gonna absolutely just be vicious about this. So, true Rex. What do you call them? Rex trainees in the making, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. And when I do the Utah Ceratops, yeah, I'm gonna mold it with the
Oh yeah.
Montanoceratops sculpted by Benji. But I'm not gonna really sell it, I don't think.
Well, there we
Well,
go. Now we have a. Come on. Just because he has a scavenger Rex theory doesn't mean that the description of the dinosaur, is like it almost comes off as if it's a bad thing, which it's not really. I mean, his theory about scavenger Rex obviously sucks balls, but the but Ankylosaurus, he did describe a lot of specimens, so
Mhm.
that's a good thing. There's credit where it's
Yeah.
due. So
Yeah.
so let's see what you've posted up there. So that's oh, you've got this. What do you call that? Is that a Montana
Um,
Ceratops?
yeah, Montanoceratops sculpted by Benji. Benji Snow. Yeah, I'm gonna chop it up and mold that one, but
Nice.
I don't think I'll sell it, or if I do sell it, it'll be like an add-on thing, not by itself, just because it's so small that it's the same amount of work to
I'm
put it
sorry, I'm
together.
laughing at the chat. Virgin Spinosaurus versus Chad Bear. Okay, I tell you what, guys. Anybody who's gonna be able to do the best drawing on Virgin Spinosaurus versus Chad Bear is gonna get my Leptoceratops finished and painted for a prize. So we're gonna do a voting contest on that. So it's on. You don't have to do it now. I give you like as long as you need, maybe like a couple months if you want to finish the piece. The best one who wins gets my prize. There we go. So it's gonna, yeah, I can feel like rubbing hands, is happening right now. So
Mhm.
I'm really, oh yeah, here we are. This is a good way to look at your painted version of the Spinosaurus, which I still haven't
Yeah.
painted yet. I've assembled it and I even put it on a base that I had a spare one,
Mhm.
which fits nicely, by the way. But
Mhm.
I haven't been able to paint it yet. I already decided how I paint it, but I just haven't done it yet.
Yeah, I am still painting that one for a customer, and I'm trying not to paint too much anymore. Like, because it takes so long to paint, so I don't really want to paint for people anymore. Yeah, it takes too long.
But you generally do
But
sometimes paint for customers if they request, right?
yeah, a couple of them. Like this one, he always like he's bought every single one of my models, so I always paint for him. But and then the odd other person, but generally I don't like to. 'Cause, yeah. And then I don't feel I'm that good at it, so
Well,
I can never. I don't
but
have the patience for it.
good news is you're among the top sculptors right now on the market, and especially for the prices that you're offering. I'll be honest. I think I'm gonna end up with quite a lot of your items on my shelf
Yeah. Hmm.
generally, because I've got four of your pieces right now,
Right.
and
Have I?
Chad, and then I'm saving up and probably gonna be ready, if not this month, maybe next month. Hopefully, might get your Borealopelta, which is another
Yeah.
cool kit. If you have a picture,
Hmm.
can you post it, by the way, just so that we can see it?
Let's
Don't
bring
rush
that.
to take your time. And
I got it right.
but yeah, I really want to
Um,
get that Borealopelta as well.
I'm probably just gonna send it here like tomorrow or Monday,
Yeah, feel free.
and then
Just drop it in
because
the chat.
I want to
Oh
save
yeah,
on
there it is.
shipping,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna like just send a bunch of things, um, like and the Pachyrhinosaurus that you need to paint up for someone.
Yeah, it says it
Yes.
reminds me of Armadillo. the two stripped one, yeah. I mean, in a way, it's like a dinosaurian version of an armadillo. It's like armadillo dinosaur edition, so to speak, because the principle in terms of armor is very similar. Of course, I would imagine. I think. By the way, here's another thing. Armadillo armor is, to my understanding, is made up of a single piece, right, or fused bones, so they are not actually mobile, right? As in, they are not flexible, though they're shells, so to speak. But
I don't know.
but these dinosaurs ones, the armored nodosaurid and stuff, I think their armor is actually more flexible. They do have osteoderms and stuff, but they are quite. They can still move around a bit more with these things. But yeah, nice shots. And those two, okay, they're both Borealopelts. I just noticed one just doesn't have the legs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you were doing another one, you were doing Edmontonia longiceps as well?
Yeah, I have it here. I should probably deal with it. Like, it's mostly, like, the main body's mostly done, but I've left it sit so long it started to crack a bit.
Oh.
But I don't know if I'm happy with it. It just looks...
Here we go.
I don't know, just something off about it. I don't know what it
It's
is.
classic phrases by Mike, basically. I don't know, there's just something off about it. I might just restart it for the zillionth time.
I'm not quite happy with it, even though it's like there's nothing actually really wrong with it.
Yeah, well, guys, this is classic Mike for you, basically. The one who gets good results, but it takes him forever to actually get there.
Like, the head is too rectangular. Here's a picture of it. It just doesn't look right. I don't like it.
Rectangular, you mean from probably from the front area, I would imagine, right? Because
looking at it down, it's sort of...
Yeah, looking down, yeah, so from the view from top.
Yeah, I don't know.
You can try to remake the head, can you not? Because everything else looks spot on.
I guess I could remove the head.
I mean, you could keep it as it is anyway, but if you really want to get to nitty-gritty bits so that it's really capturing the species, then you could just resculpt the head itself and then attach it.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't even think it's necessarily that wrong. Looking at other, like, I can't find a good picture. Like, here's our Edmontonia rugosidens, and it looks not that similar. It's pretty rectangular too. I mean,
I think the shape of the skulls are actually very similar. It's just that if you notice, there is this osteoderm on just behind its jugal, and on the on Edmontonia longiceps there is also something there, but it's a different shape, and it's also not. I mean, how do I say this? There's definitely a difference in terms of the shape and layout of the osteoderms on the skull on these two species. And you see how Rugosidens has a slightly different spike on the sides as well. The way.
Yeah, I tried to give it that. I didn't do the spike quite like that.
I might use a slightly different approach when I do the Denversaurus, because Denversaurus, I think it doesn't have them even as expressive as they see. It's a lot more simplified version of these, basically. So it would just have maybe a bit bigger osteoderms all over the body. But
like to give credit where credit is due, the Saurian one seems pretty...
I actually, this is the funny thing, I am absolutely in love with Saurian's designs of Ankylosaurus in terms of the model and the Denversaurus. These are the two creatures I think they nailed, and I haven't seen anybody actually in terms of 3D modeling who has done it better than they did.
Yeah. The only thing I find very questionable is the pose.
Oh, you mean this kind of pose, yeah?
Yeah, I don't... Like, otherwise it seems... I mean, I'm not huge on the paint or the color scheme, but otherwise it seems pretty good, other than the color and the pose. It just...
I
Seems a
am
little
okay
bit
with
more.
the color scheme, but I would tone it down a little bit with the reds, just
Mhm.
I would just kind of make it less. Yeah, especially in this second shot, it looks a lot more purple, which is something I would not
Yeah,
do.
no. Purple's a very unnatural color. You don't really see it anywhere.
No, it's not really a common thing, unless you are even in among the bright colored lizards. I have not seen a proper purple
No,
yet. I've
no.
seen
Like,
bright blue and yellows, and oranges, but I've not seen purples yet.
no, as I say, it's a pretty unnatural color, generally speaking.
They
It's
had
like, of
another
course,
render, they had a render which was one of their like concept renders where
yeah.
they had it next to Bob Backer's silhouette, and that's a nice shot of it. I think that one is very
Um,
good. And
I think I know the one by RG.
yeah, yeah,
The
the concept art that
it
was done
was
by RG, yeah, that was a very nice one.
it was too much like Edmontonia. Here, I got it here. It's not loading very well, but you'll get that idea.
Yeah, let's have a look. There we are. Yeah, yeah, it's a
It's too
little
much.
bit too much like Edmontonia, but
Mhm. The
especially
color.
the bottom one is completely off. That's not how it was. But the
Mhm.
top one is a bit more spot on. I
Mhm.
am dubious about the tail mobility,
Yeah.
and I am somewhat dubious about the side spikes on the front because, as far as I remember, Denversaurus skeleton is a little bit more simplified in comparison. And
Mhm.
although it has been previously classified as a species of
Mhm.
Edmontonia, it used to be Edmontonia
Mhm.
schlesmani or something like that,
Mhm.
but now it's the Denversaurus. And the funny part is that they actually hint that there may be actual Edmontonia species as well in Hell Creek Formation.
Yeah.
So there we go. There's lots of
Mhm.
armor walking around in that time period.
I
But
don't
yeah,
know
I'm not
why,
a fan
but
of this pose either. I kind of
mhm.
think that or like the skeletal, basically, those poses are the ones they
Mhm.
would adapt, not the ones
Yeah,
like
like
this.
that last picture I sent, I sort of like, and I think it's the same. It's exactly the same, but it looks a bit better there. Like up a bit is fine, but yeah, some of these it looks a little awkward and
The
yeah, I
neck
question.
positioning and the head is a bit awkward, and it makes. I mean, of course, it's very hard to really make a good argument when you talk about paleontology in terms of what makes sense, because,
Mhm.
as I said
It
before
doesn't
here
really
on
make
this
sense.
channel, it doesn't have to make sense. It's just that we have to
Yeah,
look at what is and what is not,
yeah,
and what we can
mhm.
support with evidence. But
Yeah,
because just because our hypothesis may be presented as internally consistent on a paper doesn't actually mean it's true.
hmm
And that's the problem with paleontology. It's very hard to support a lot of these things, whatever
hmm
claims we come up with. However, if I were to talk about what makes sense to me, which again, disclaimer, personal opinion incoming here, that it almost makes me feel like the throat is getting a bit more exposed from that
yeah,
angle, which makes it a bit easy to grab on by something like a Tyrannosaurus, and
hmm
subsequently makes it a bit of an easier target, which is something that would be counterintuitive in its design. I don't
hmm
know, just my opinion on it.
yeah,
So
yeah. I'm curious how well it would hold up against
yeah, I would hold off
something.
against modeling like this, but I generally like the layout and I like that the skeleton that they're following. It seems to be very good overall, and the
Yeah,
osteoderms here in this picture, the osteoderms design is very consistent. It's very simplified in comparison to
yeah.
Edmontonia. Very nice overall.
Mm-hmm.
It also, what else is weird, and I will need to check it with the skeleton, but I suspect this might actually be a crazy funny thing about Denversaurus. If you look at the mouth, you see there's like an osteoderm on the lower jaw, on the side.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was actually on the skeleton as well. And if it was, this is actually what makes it potentially one of the distinguishing features of the
The
taxon.
ch- the cheek osteoderm.
No, look at the mouth. If you open up the Saurian image, look at the
Well,
mouth, and look, there is right under the upper jaw, like slightly forward diagonally from the eye, but below.
yeah, the cheek osteoderm.
Oh, it's well, it's a bit, I don't know. I mean, okay, let's call it a cheek osteoderm. Although I would have thought, so it's basically just forward ahead of the jugal. It's like between the beak and the jugal, sort of
Yeah,
thing. Yeah,
yeah,
there
it's
we
like
go. Yeah,
in
we're on
that
the same page now. Okay.
Yeah, it's in between the.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's the spot I was talking about, and this
Um,
is quite interesting for me.
I know like it's claimed that Edmontonia longiceps doesn't have it, but I'm not sure if that's just because we didn't find it with it. Because I know Edmontonia rugosidens has it for sure.
Yeah, you cannot see it in this AMNH skeleton, or you can maybe, but it's just the angle is not very good. But I've seen the skeletal. I think there was a reconstruction that I've seen, and it also shows that osteoderm there as well.
Yeah, let's see. Don't see it in that one.
Also, while you're looking for this, I've been really itching to rant about something for a little bit, and this is specifically related to the hypocrisy of the whole argument that is being forwarded by I don't even want to label them as pro-lippers because that implies tribalism, and I am actually very opposed to that idea. In fact, we have only recently abolished the idea of this, feather Nazis, and all that stuff, because the group has been disbanded practically, and my main point was that it was actually creating this tribalism, and since it's gone, I was sort of thinking, okay, this is an opportunity to start stepping away from it now, and focusing more on the individual arguments themselves on an individual basis rather than getting into this tribalistic camp mentality. But it appears, for the lack of a better word, yes, people who push for the trend of putting extraoral tissue or lips or whatever the hell they call that. And by hypocrisy, I mean that, remember how many times when you ask what's the justification for it, the main justification and argument was that teeth somehow needed protection because crocodilians is okay because they're semi-aquatic and there's some other stuff. And then all of a sudden I'm seeing a bunch of artwork with lipped Spinosaurids. Just started suddenly, just magically, in a poof of smoke cloud appeared out of nowhere by the same very people in many ways. And in fact, it doesn't even matter if it's the same people. It's the argument itself, how widespread. You know how widespread the argument is. It's just, it's total hypocrisy. And I couldn't help but noticing it and just saying how much it's, just how dumb it is and how insulting it is to my intelligence personally.
No, I'm definitely gonna call that out on my next post some more than I have.
Guys, in case you didn't know, if you follow Mike on Instagram, you will see some, shitlord kind of approaches to the subject.
I'm just gonna,
Because you have already trolled some of them before, because they've apparently done something, the lipless dinosaur week, where they supposedly try to make fun of people who do not put extraoral tissue on dinosaurs, and somehow, I don't know who invented the trend, but whoever that was probably thought it was somehow creative and funny in the sense that they basically, try to make lipless mammals. So, yeah, you can already tell how loaded that comparison and statement is just by doing that already. It's just so many angles here to unpack, and oh my god. One of the reasons why I never responded or commented on these posts is because I was hoping that we could maybe make fun of that a little bit and just generally expose it for what it is on a video. So what are your thoughts about that?
At first I made a story acknowledging it, but then 2 minutes later I deleted it. I'm like, I don't even really want to acknowledge it at all. It's just so silly. There's no point in even wasting.
But does it not show you how does it not demonstrate the reliability and consistency, or the lack thereof of that argument itself? If you notice that the argument itself has actually not produced any, verifiable or testable, anything that is actually tangible to support it.
Sort of, but I mean, you have to remember it's little kids. Well, they're not little kids. They're like 14 to 17 doing this.
Well,
so it's like,
I have people here, some people who are 17 years old, and you know what? If they were ever ending up, if any of my subs who are 17 or whatever years old, shout out to all of you guys out there, 14 to 17-year-old ones who are watching this video, if any of them end up in the comment sections of any of those people where they are just in their echo chamber basically smelling their own farts, it would basically be like letting a fox into a hen house. I'm just telling you. I'm telling you. I mean, look at all of this stuff that's going on here. My God, this bear. I bet he drew this right now and quickly photographed and posted, because it looks like a photograph. He doesn't. Jesus.
I don't know. I guess I just not gonna take it too seriously, because again, it's like a pretty.
It's no point, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a small group of young people doing it. And I'm gonna call them out for their attitudes for sure. I'm just not gonna really address the lipless week too much, more than I have in some comments. But
I think it's more than enough to call it out for what it is now, and just really point out that it's nothing but another form of projecting the hypocrisy overall, and just generally the very cult mentality of anyone.
No, it's something very cultish.
Notice that if you cannot disagree with them. If you try to disagree, you're a science denier. You are something. Basically, there is no. How do you say that? There's no way you can have an actual due process. There's no due process allowed in this discussion when it comes from that perspective. And again, it's from the experience that I've had with vast majority of people who support that argument, and those who have been on this sort of train of thought before, but were more reasonable about it. They actually admitted, most of the times at least, that the argument is actually very difficult to support, in contrast, especially when you have so many things like burden of proof that still basically lies on that claim, and then you basically have no evidence to test the hypothesis. You don't have any living examples or any preservations that would hint that they would have evolved that way. Then there is this problem, how they try to relate dinosaurs to birds as much as possible when it's all about influffening. But then we have to also acknowledge in that case that birds or similar animals and taxa did not show any evidence of developing these kind of extraoral tissues. So if you're going to be giving them these extraoral tissues, you're actually bringing them closer to the lizards. And yet they are the ones who are always moaning that you should not call dinosaurs lizards. That's basically bullcrap, which it is. It's correct, but it's not about that. It's about the double standard and hypocrisy to fit and shift the goalposts around,
Yeah, whatever suits the narrative, When it comes to extraoral tissue, it's always about lizards, but when it comes to filaments, it's always about birds, and just like, keep it consistent.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't actually have a problem with people holding the argument itself. I have a problem with the hypocrisy and double standard. And I have a problem when basically one has already forwarded,
they have their pseudo arguments where.
It's like you cannot prove it did not have that. It's almost like you cannot. I believe that aliens exist, so you cannot prove that they did not. You don't have the evidence to prove me that they did not exist. Like, I'm sorry, but
it's
Jesus.
There's no acknowledgement of possibly being wrong. It's just all theropods had lips. And it's just.
I
not
gotta
an
say that
argument.
there is also no nuance in terms of the due process, so you can actually look at specific taxa individually and see whether or not this
Mhm.
may be variable, because
Yeah.
as much as I still don't support it in any of them, generally,
Mhm.
for a variety of reasons that I have already gone over a zillion times,
Mhm.
and but the main point is at least demonstrate that you are approaching it with some kind of nuance. It's the
Mhm.
nuance itself that I want to hear at least come up
Yeah.
sometime, so to show that at least the said person is serious about it to a certain degree. I understand that
Yeah. And then,
money, how most people in their day-to-day life, they don't care about dinosaurs, right? So let's just be real, we
mhm.
are in our own bubble as well in that sense,
Yeah.
which is one thing that we have to acknowledge. But one thing that I thought was important as well to at least demonstrate is that if you're supporting a certain type of argument, at least try to demonstrate how consistent it is, or acknowledge the problems when they're being pointed out and challenged, and
Yeah.
rather than just going back to square one and saying,
Mhm.
yeah, and then just repeating the same thing all over again and ignoring
Yeah.
everything else that just happened.
Yeah. They usually just hand wave away the like skull morphology.
Let's just
That's
say anything, yeah. Sorry,
that.
hang on a second. Yeah, sorry, just give me a second. I just need to quickly do something.
Yeah.
Alright, sorry, yeah, I just had to quickly sign some paperwork. So, no worries.
Um,
Right. Okay, so yeah,
yeah.
we're
Like
back.
if you bring up skull shape, they just hand wave away. Oh no, that's not a big deal. Like it's not that different from a lizard skull. Don't insult me like that. I can see they're nothing alike. Like don't even
Look, dude, you
try.
actually own a lizard as a pet as well. I mean, not
Yeah.
that you can see the skull, but you can literally just like hold it in your hands and just look
Yeah.
at it and just touch it
Yeah.
and see what it's like,
She, she she doesn't like it when I like sort of pry open her mouth, but like sometimes I can, and you can like sort of see how like the teeth sit and stuff. Like you can't really even see the teeth, and they're all roughly the same size. And well, I shouldn't say that. They actually have some sort of chomper blunt teeth at the back of their skull. But yeah. Point is,
Oh yeah,
it's
tegus are
nothing.
very unique in that sense as well, that they adapt. By the way, Mike has an Argentine tegu,
Yeah.
so they adapt to the different dietary preferences as they grow as well,
Mhm.
because I think they change their diet as they grow up a little bit.
Mhm. Like you can see the tips of those blunt teeth and then the tips of those really tall maxillary and dentary teeth. Otherwise, you can't really see them.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of these different concaves and or what do you call it? I'm not sure actually about the terminology, but it's the shape of the jaws and how you can see clearly
Yeah.
there is a lot of muscle attachment there for the soft tissue. So that's not the case in theropod skulls that I'm seeing, especially if you look at specific ones which have big teeth as well. But it's the same with Allosauroids. It's the same that I've seen in most theropod skulls. They just don't have that. It's not nearly close to that. You can look at other skulls like iguanas or... Oh, there we go. There is another skull right here. That's probably a monitor lizard of some type. Um, Mike, is that a monitor lizard or what is it? Your microphone's off. Um, check your microphone. Guys, can you hear me, by the way? Just wanted to double check. Because the mic, yeah. His microphone has gone off for a second. Try to jump out of the voice chat and then come back in again. Just go out and then come back in again. Try that. to hang up and come back in again. Maybe that might help. But yeah, I can see that there is obviously the teeth are quite big, but then you can see that there is a lot of different structures here that support the extraoral tissue, and how they line up as well. It's a lot more consistent with that sort of soft tissue reconstruction than what we see in dinosaurs.
Oh.
Okay, yeah, there you are. So did you click on something accidentally?
I have no clue.
Okay.
Wait, no.
Did your hold on a second? You sound a little bit different.
It should, because it switched to my computer camera
okay.
thing. So
Yeah, that's fine now. It's fine now.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry guys, small technical difficulty.
No clue what's going on.
Yeah, we're okay now. Guys, just to double check, everybody can hear Mike? Mike, say something clever.
I don't know what to say.
Well, that's enough.
I'm here.
Yeah, it seems that everything is okay. All right, so let's get back. So, what was this? Was that a monitor lizard that you posted there?
Yeah, it's like rock monitor, and they always love to bring that particular one up to show how you can have very long teeth and lips, but it very obviously doesn't work that way.
You know what's funny? When the mouth is fully closed on this skull, the teeth don't actually go all the way down.
Yeah, exactly. You can see how the maxillary. Maxillary.
Maxillary. Yeah, I don't know.
The maxilla is concave to prevent that the teeth overhang the other teeth too much. But point is, yeah, it's just the way they don't take these sort of things in consideration. They see these things, but it doesn't register as important for whatever reason.
I could name a lot of things that don't register as important when it comes to these conversations, unfortunately.
It's just really, like, I don't care talking about, like, it's so tired talking about lips, but it's just like,
it's such a beat up and overrated topic at this point, to the point where I just think it doesn't deserve as much attention as it's being given.
For sure, it never did, really.
I think one of the reasons why I end up frequently bringing it up is not even because of the subject itself, but more so about what the conversation of the subject demonstrates.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's a very classic example of the mentality, and it's the mentality itself that I'm trying to demonstrate rather than what the topic itself is. As far as the topic is, I think we have pretty much expired all of these different arguments and points, but it's the actual approach and methodology of discussion that we still see, and the reason why I point out this in the same about influffening, it's because it's a very similar idea of how it's approached, and that just speaks to me that we are in a danger of regressing, rather than progressing forward in the way we are looking at the subjects. We're supposed to actually evolve and produce better, more reliable methods than these things that are just nothing but a child's play. But then you correctly pointed out, a lot of times it comes from kids. So
yeah, but I mean, I guess ultimately for this stuff, it does come from the.
I know by kids I mean kids who are not, because you know how you can have a class of people, for example, and there's only a couple of them who are actually paying a lot of attention to the new ones, and the really smart ones, as they call them. And the others are just same as everyone else, so to speak. They don't really display any particular, tendencies towards the kind of critical thinking.
They'll just go along with whatever.
In fact, the worst part is that me as somebody, I used to be that kid who was the one who would, critically think about things as much as possible. And because I was frequently made fun of because of that, that actually kind of registered at some point as something that it's a bad thing to do that, you should not do this. or it's not cool,
No.
so because, I don't know, girls are not gonna like me for it, or something like that. But it turns out to be the exact opposite, apparently. So,
Yeah. I sort of think that's where the, like, I know you don't like to be tribal about it, but they're very tribal about it. Like,
but
and I
that's the
think
problem, because when
that's
we
sort
try
of
to
the
address
thing.
them, oh, sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Well, because, yeah, you have to have that social conformity of don't question it, sort of just go along with it. So,
The reason why it
it's
comes
not
off,
wrong to
yeah.
It's not wrong to point out that they're tribal. I don't think that necessarily makes you tribal. Yes.
I like to think it doesn't, but then when I have to obviously address the argument, the point of reference that I use, of course, might make it come off as I am, which actually I don't intend to be, because I am not actually specifically really interested in the people themselves who make the argument. It's the argument itself that I want to call out and criticize.
Yeah, for sure.
Because
But I mean,
I don't know who these people are in real life. Many of them might actually be very nice people. They might be very successful.
I'm sure most of them are.
You know, most of them probably are actually, and many of them might actually be really badly behaved on the internet, but they might actually be the nicest people ever in real life. You don't know that. And
Yeah.
this is I always try to leave that kind of benefit of the doubt, but the argument itself is where I have a problem. So
Definitely.
yeah,
But again,
so this is what's
you
happening a
can't
lot on
argue
things like Instagram, Facebook, and the cesspool by the name of Twitter, which I have, by the way, deleted my account from as well, from Twitter.
Yeah, I don't use Twitter for paleo stuff anymore.
So let's see what else. I mean, in terms of the updates for model kits, I am currently on my Allosaurus, have been for a while, but recently it's accelerated a little bit. You know, once I got to the areas that are a bit more from the top areas, where I don't have to hold the model in the air, you know,
Yeah.
I just put it on the table and just carefully lean on the parts that are already baked, and just you know, hold that with my second hand, with my left hand, and just use my right hand to actually do the sculpting. And I'm almost done in my front area of the torso on the left side. So if I were to finish that area and then take a picture on the side, it would look like the whole thing is finished. Although it's not, but it would actually give off that impression.
Yeah.
And it's so much better than the texture stamps. I'm sorry, but as much as I used to be a fan of texture stamps to save time and effort, I just realized how superior doing the ball tip or similar type of sharp tip tools is just so much better. It takes ages, but the results are just so much more rewarding.
Yeah, it's a lot more natural looking.
And also you can make them a little bit smaller as well in some areas if you use a needle.
Yeah, you have a lot more control. And I don't like how the stamps tend to dent the clay. And it's usually pretty noticeable when it's being stamped.
Yep, I noticed that as well a lot. It messes up your shape a little bit overall. It's all of the areas that you have outlined with all the muscle work and all the skin folds and all of that. It completely just messes it up. You know, just changes it into something that looks like it's been beat up by I don't know what.
Yeah.
So what else can we address? Is there anything else cool that you are planning in the nearest future in terms of projects that we can look forward to?
Probably.
Probably? Okay. You're hinting on something?
No, I'm trying to think. What have I been doing? No, I think that's everything.
So basically we can expect Leptoceratops hopefully sooner, and the Spinosaurus you are currently working on.
Yeah, I don't know when that will be done. Hopefully sooner rather than later. Yeah, I'm just looking at my old Spinosaurus, which the legs are pretty weird looking, but overall I actually sort of like that model. But
it's a nice model. It's obviously dated, but it's a nice model still. I'm pretty sure people will still like it.
It's pretty impressive. I don't like the head sculpt anymore, but like you don't really notice it. too much on the body. It's just you're just focused everywhere else.
And oh yeah, by the way, I remember you were doing the Albertosaurus as well.
The what?
Albertosaurus.
Oh, Albert Smith. Yeah. Oh, and the Vista.
Yeah, I will not try to pronounce that.
Yeah.
It's just
Um.
it's just one of those things that just breaks my tongue.
Yeah. But we'll see about that one.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure I will do it, but I just sort of put it on hold. Same with the Albertosaurus. I'm not sure how I feel about that one either. I'll probably do that one.
It's very funny
Right.
that carnivores, especially for some reason, they're really. I mean, if they're done right, they come out really nicely, but it's pretty hard to get the proportions right because there's this temptation of overly exaggerating features, and
For sure.
there's also this thing about the teeth, making bigger teeth than they actually should be for the scale.
Mm-hmm. That's definitely difficult to not do.
So guys, if anybody who's also trying sculpting, I will tell you that it will take you quite a few attempts to get your theropod done properly, and chances are you're gonna be cursing quite a lot as well when you're gonna be getting it wrong, because you are inevitably gonna fail several times, like everyone else does, because that's the part of the process. What can I say? Just keep trying it until you get it. So Mike, would you like to, is there anything else you would like to touch up on, or shall we do our, see if there people have any questions and answers that they want?
We could probably move to the questions.
Okay, let's see if we have any questions. Guys, post questions, just feel free, do some of that, and then after this we're gonna slowly get ready to wrap up, but maybe if you have something you want to bring up, let's talk about that as well. So we're gonna wait to see if anybody's gonna start typing anytime soon. And speaking of lizards as well, I really think it's, as you probably would know by now, since we've talked about our ideas of where we want to focus on in terms of sculpting and representing which models, of the animals. You would remember that main focus for me is Hell Creek, and I really want to try to do some of these other animals, that are just really not that well represented. For example, there's this lizard. Sorian made this as well, by the way. It's Paleontological or something like that, or how do you call that? The really big lizard. What's that? Paleontological, yeah, or something like that, yeah.
Paleontological, I think it's...
Yeah.
Could be wrong.
It's apparently the Canadiensis is supposed to be from Dinosaur Park formation,
Right,
but
yeah.
they claim that it may be even either same or similar, or maybe just related species in the Hell Creek. So it appears that we do have evidence of them there, but whether it's exactly the same species or not, it's not confirmed yet, I think. But they claim it's Canadiensis, but we don't know. So, okay, Mike, I suppose this is the one you should take. What's your experience on working with fragmented dinosaurs?
Like really fragmentary ones, I usually stay away. Other than the Spinosaurus, I usually stay away from anything that's too fragmentary.
So Spinosaurus is kind of more of an exception?
Yeah, I would say Spinosaurus is the exception. Otherwise, I try to stick to fairly... Like, I'm not going to do anything like people were saying I should do Thanathoristes, and like, it's a couple of skull elements. I'm not going to do that one.
The other funny part about this Tyrannosaurid is that it's practically, in terms of the scaling and size and how you can represent it, it's almost going to be identical to the Spinosaurus terrosus.
Yeah, so it's kind of pointless.
Yeah, it's pointless. Yeah, you will not really do a whole lot with them, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like when I was thinking, if I did a Tarbosaurus, would I want to do Zuchenktyrannus magnus? And then I realized that it would actually look very much the same based on what is known so far. There would be just not much to really highlight about them unless I start dwelling more into the realm of fantasy and give it some kind of distinguished crests, maybe. But again, a bit of a fantasy land.
Yeah. Like, and then there's a few ceratops. It's like I tried a Xenoceratops, but I actually looking at it, there's not really anything on it. So it's like I'm not gonna do that one again.
Yeah, it's the Xenoceratops is from the foremost formation. It's the same as the other, the new Tyrannosaurid. Yeah. They're both from the same place.
Yeah.
And the other one, you know, the very well-known, famous Metriacanthosaurus, which was popularized by Jurassic Park franchise generally, despite that it's never actually showed up in the franchise, generally speaking. But it was still very well known in that sense that it appeared there, so that's how people basically know about it. And the funny thing is that there is no skull that's actually found with it.
Yeah.
So it's technically headless.
Yeah, isn't it pretty incomplete?
It's quite a lot. It's the same with Brachiosaurus as well, apparently, according to Jeffrey, at least when he was here last time, or the time before that. I think it was the time before that, this session, when we were talking about it, and surprisingly how Brachiosaurus is such a well-known taxon, and yet it's actually not well-known. I mean, it's famous, but it's not well-known in terms of material at all. Most of what used to be believed to be Brachiosaurus is actually an African equivalent from the same family, but a different taxon, Giraffatitan.
Right.
So, but I presume you're not going to be doing a Giraffatitan in 1:20 scale.
No. It's tempting, but like, I would need like epoxy clay for that.
Yeah, you're just not gonna. It's just. I don't even see myself ever trying something like that yet. It's just, I mean, it's a tempting thing to do as like a mad lad sort of thing, but it's insane.
I would need different material to do it.
Yeah, something that you don't have to fit in the oven.
Yeah, and I would like totally make it like in parts as I go instead of trying to chop it up.
Good idea. I mean, this thing is gonna be absolutely huge in 1:20 scale.
Yeah.
Even
it's
something.
Tempting. I was looking at doing like a Patasaurus Ajax, and.
Oh yeah, that would have been great actually. I would have loved to see you do a Patasaurus Ajax. That would be amazing.
Huge.
I wonder how many duet memes is it gonna take for you to even start it.
Like it just.
Do it, Mike. Much. Make it now. Sculpt it. Do it.
I see Scott Hartman has a 2020 version of it.
Of the Apatosaurus?
Yeah. Apatosaurus.
We've gotta do it. We've gotta do it here in the chat.
Look at the size of that meter bar. Let's see it.
Share it here in the chat. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, there we are.
Look at the size of the meter bar.
Oh crap! Yeah. How am I gonna? It's like how do you even print this?
Yeah, you don't.
You don't. The thing I'm not sure is are the tails really supposed to be that thin?
Yeah.
Presume they are, right?
I mean,
it's a Louisia actually. It's not an Ajax, but I think Ajax is actually bigger than that one, or not?
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't know.
That's the thing. I've always been confused which of the species was bigger because, or maybe they're both the same size, but it's a bit weird for me. Sorry, Sir Local Paleontologist, you said yes. Yes to what? What was the question that you were answering? Was it to whether or not the tail? For the tail, yeah, okay, yeah, makes sense. But think about it this way. If you look at the skeletal here, if you split it from the neck, then you further split the area towards the front from the head. Then you split at the base of the tail and maybe a couple more sections and the legs. So it would still be, obviously it's a multi-part kit, but your biggest part, which is definitely gonna be a rotocast, that's a 100% rotocast kit right there. So that's gonna be the body itself, yeah. Because if you're gonna be doing it solid piece in resin, that's just not gonna be a viable piece at all, and you're not gonna be able to sell it to anyone.
No, I'd probably chop the neck in half, chop the tail into 2 parts. You'd probably get away with the legs. Yeah.
You could even keep the legs, by the way, if you really make a big mold, you know? You could position it in a way that... Because Lu Fenchang and also I think Sean Cooper, they do that sometimes. They have their quadruped models in such a way that you can actually, adjust it very friendly to that sort of molding casting, position.
Yeah.
Which is quite interesting.
I think you'd have to take off like the feet or something.
Maybe, yeah, because otherwise it's gonna be, especially on the rare hind limbs, the front limbs might actually be okay, but the hind limbs are just not gonna work with that.
And that requires a lot of extra material too.
What's that?
Yeah, that would require quite a bit of extra silicone to do too.
Yeah. Okay, we've got the got some charts here. Apatosaurus. Oh, it's a Apatosaurus species, so it's not actually a diagnosed species, presumably. And there's another one here, Apatosaurus ajax. Yeah. So we got multiple specimens here, and it's next to Allosaurus of some type. Dude, just stop. Did you read this one? I got into the middle of a debate on another server. See this guy, he's he's probably on a mission, I think. Z-Boomer, are you on a mission? The only mission you should be focused on is asking questions. Right, guys, come on, let's spit out some more questions, see if there's anything. I mean, there's gotta be something that might be interesting that you might want to know. Is there any art projects you want to know about or anything like that? So if not, then we're just gonna wrap up and get back to work.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine if no one had any questions.
But to be fair, we didn't have a whole lot of people. We only had a few at the time, so we might have more people asking stuff when I upload the video on the channel. So this is more likely gonna be the case, because the time differences and all of this stuff. A lot of times you will find that people are just not gonna be able. I've had a few people who wanted to listen, but they confirmed that they couldn't because they have work. So
yeah, it's an awkward time of day for anyone in North America.
Yeah, there are a couple American people I know for a fact that couldn't make it because of work. So there we go. Makes perfect sense. Well, I mean, we'll see what happens with these ones. I actually, funny enough, I don't have a single sauropod on my list to do. I mostly have carnivores at this point. So basically it's Hell Creek animals and plus bits and pieces, which are mostly made up of carnivores of some type. Because I really like to do something that is not frequently done as well. For example, I'd like to try maybe Ankylosaurus or or this Russian Garganopsid Inostrancivia. Or what else? Leptoceratops ferox, by the way, would be a nice one to do. It's about 32 centimeters long in the scale 1 to 20, so that would be a nice one to do.
For sure.
Hetzegopteryx, Romanian pterosaur. Although Hetzegopteryx surprisingly is not that well known from the material, but this is probably going to be one of those things where I'm gonna be willing to go for it just because I really wanna do something that is not a Quetzalcoatlus, because Quetzalcoatlus is just all over the place at this point. Although not in the 1 to 20, I haven't seen 1 to 20 Quetzalcoatlus, but people are gonna just look at it and be like, oh, it's another Quetz, yeah, whatever.
For sure.
That's not gonna stop me from making a T-Rex, though. Despite the fact
No,
how
I
many T-Rexes are out there, I'm still making a fucking T-Rex.
I think I might start on one here.
So you're gonna make a T-Rex as well, then?
Yeah, I definitely want to do another one.
Alright, go for it. Are you gonna use the old armature, or are you gonna make a new one?
I'll probably make a new one.
Okay,
I'm not too sure yet.
right.
I'd have to look at it again.
Yeah, let me know, by the way, when you are gonna be doing, because if you don't want the old
Yeah.
one, then I would be willing to, buy, so to say, trade it from you if you want, and I can use that for my kit, and you can do your new one if you want.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely do that.
There's guys, let's be real. There's never such thing as too many T-Rexes. Okay, this is one thing that I can never say, that no matter what happens, there's no many. You can have too many Quetzalcoatlus. You can even have too many. I don't know what else. Maybe even trikes. Although my moderator here, who is online but he's not here with us right now, the precise three-horned face, he would probably be like, there is no such thing as too many Triceratops. What are you talking about? Because he likes, stop saying there's too much sauropods. No, there's actually not enough sauropods, actually, come to think of it. I haven't seen all that many really good pieces for sauropods made, especially in 1:20 scale. It's either somebody makes them ridiculously big in like 1:15 or something like that, or they're too small for my liking. I prefer 1:20 because it's a very good in-betweener, where you can have something really big and you can have something relatively small as well. Okay, so guys, let's just quickly summarize. Do you have any more last-minute questions? And if not, we are going to wrap up the session, and me and Mike are going to get back to work. But we are not in a rush or anything. We just wanted to know if there's anything you want to ask, and if not, then we'll just wrap it.
I'm usually on Instagram anyways, answering all sorts of questions.
What is this? I don't... Z-Boomer, is this your lizard, by the way? No, okay. So what is it? Is that a bearded dragon?
Yeah, that's the question.
It looks like a nice It looks like a nice bearded dragon. I like the pattern. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, if you have a question, then feel free. The whole point is that now is Q&A time, guys. Come on, let's do it. Okay, so Z-Boomer is definitely up for it. Z-Boomer is quite an active user anyway. He likes to participate a lot in this server. What do you want to say about... Okay, so let's have a look. What he's a fan. What do you want to say about people saying, well, there is no evidence of lips, but we can use facts?
I mean, I've never seen anyone...
I've never actually heard anybody saying it like this, because if I did, you can bet your whole livelihood that I would absolutely roast these people for saying something like this. I mean, this statement itself, if somebody ever said something like that, I mean, unless it's a literal direct translation, as an... because of the rhetoric in the original language, I presume Brazilian maybe, or Portuguese actually, because Brazilians speak Portuguese, if I'm correct. Z-Boomer, you speak Portuguese, right? I think it is Portuguese. I think it's Spanish in Argentina and Portuguese in Brazil. Yeah, there we go. So, basically... you both speak the same language. Sir, local paleontologist, are you from... Okay, cool, nice. Okay, so yeah, I would assume this may be some kind of direct, translation because of how the Portuguese rhetoric works. I have the same experience because I speak Russian as my first language. And I noticed a lot of times if you translate something literally from, word to word from Russian language, you have to still do some rhetorical shuffling, when it comes to translating certain areas. So you cannot really say like if you copy and paste something in Russian or something in English and translate it to the other language, you would come up with something that looks a little bit crazy. That's what my point is. In a Google Translate, for example. So that's why Google Translate can be a bit weird. Especially, I remember when there was this paper that was published in Chinese language, and it never, for some reason, actually made it to English translation. I don't know why. It was not a bad paper, but the translation was quite funny. Me and Jason were examining it, and its English translation said something along the lines of blah blah blah, and then it came up to horny derivatives. I don't know what the fuck horny derivatives means, but that was quite hilarious. So there is that. But in terms of, I don't know, there is no evidence of lips, but we can use facts. I mean, if there is no evidence, then what facts are you using? You know, this is what I would ask. If somebody actually went to me with that question, I would just say, if there is no evidence, your whole statement is an oxymoron. It's pretty much self-condemning already. How can you use facts if you don't have any evidence even? I don't know. It's just, it's another very loaded. But then again, speculative doesn't equal facts. There we go. You cannot actually have. If it's speculative, then it's a speculation. It cannot be used as a factual rhetoric anymore. So you gotta decide which one is it, right? So you can't have both. So, any more comments or questions other than the drunken Russian memes? Okay. Z-Boomer is... Okay, they're both typing. There we go. Spinosaurus. I haven't actually started Spinosaurus. I was gonna consider doing Spinosaurus, but I'm deciding when am I gonna do it. Because next one I wanna do is Denversaurus after my Allosaurus is done. And then I might consider doing a Spinosaurus. Because it's got a really cool looking, club tail thingamajiggy, and it's not too massive in 1:20, by the way. It's like 50 centimeters or something like that. So if I'm gonna transfer it to the empirical, it will be almost 20 inches in length for Spinosaurus.
Really? That sounds way too small.
Yeah, it's not a big animal in comparison to... I mean, it's a big animal, but it's not a big sauropod for the standards of sauropods.
Oh, I was thinking something else. Never mind.
I was also considering Saltosaurus, the Argentinian armored... well, it looks like it's armored. I don't know if it was actually armored, but it's very interesting. But, but it's a bit bigger, and I kind of want to avoid doing too many big things, to be honest. But Saltosaurus, yeah, it sounds cool. It's something that I will consider, but I will see how it goes. It's... you know how there's this thing, there's this curse of making lists that you always keep changing them based on your mood and what you think you might do. And then you try something out, and it turns out that you start projecting in terms of, right, okay, so if I've done this thing, and then it turns out that it's too hard, then you start multiplying the effect, and you're thinking, no, I'm not gonna be doing that. So let's see what oh yeah, we've missed one of them. I was going to ask what you think about the new model on Edmontosaurus regalis of Prehistoric Kingdom. Have you seen it, Mike? The model of Prehistoric...
I don't think I have actually. Really.
Can you post a picture if you don't mind, guys? Just if you can if I can grab one, and we will tell you. I'm pretty sure I may have addressed something in the discussions, but it would be helpful. Lord Grimm is making Saltosaurus, as in sculpting it or drawing? If he's sculpting it in 1:20 scale, okay, drawing, okay, that's fine. But yeah, I was gonna say if he's sculpting it at 1:20 scale, I'd be very interested to see how it turns out. Saltosaurus was found, I think it was in Allen Formation, Argentina, if I'm correct. And here we have Edmontosaurus regalis. to pronounce it properly with its Latin name. Okay, Mike, let's have a look at this. What do you think? So there's the old model and there's the new model. I can see a few differences.
It doesn't look pretty good.
I definitely say the new model is an improvement.
I'm busy. Out. Get out.
Yeah, I told you guys we're always gonna have some of these, random events occurring. Well, anyway, I'll give you my thoughts in the meantime, and Mike will chime in when he can. So, do you have to go, by the way?
No.
Okay, you're okay. Okay, good. I thought you were getting called to do some housework or whatever.
No. So it actually looks like Edmontosaurus regalis now compared to the other one, which doesn't at all resemble it.
Do you know what I find very weird on the left one, the old model? What's with this, at the front they have these massive scales around the neck area, and then all of a sudden they're just small ones.
Yeah.
That's a bit weird.
It's pretty accurate though.
What?
The big sort of blotches like that. But I mean, having them, I don't know how accurate is having them suddenly end like that.
That's what I don't understand, if it's actually correct.
The skull seems really skin wrapped on the new one, even though it's the proper shape. It's very, skin wrapped.
I will say that the new version looks okay. I mean, I'm a carnivore guy in general, so for me it's a lot easier to look at carnivores than herbivores, but generally for somebody who doesn't really know a lot about hadrosaurids and just herbivores in general, I would say I would have accepted it probably, but I'm pretty sure if it's gone under a more precise examination, maybe under a microscope, there would be things that you could find there that might be off. So, but it's definitely following this paper that when Giulia Scattoni did the artwork for it as well, with this kind of soft tissue crest, and it's following the same idea of the spines, along the back. So it seems like it's more or less on point. The coloration seems decent too. Oh, here we go, we've got some more stuff here. So, got Edmontosaurus and Ectins. Okay, so here is another thing. They are calling it Edmontosaurus cookpincensis, but that's actually the Prince Creek taxon. And I am not sure, unless there is already study and paper that describes it as such and validates it. Oh yeah, okay, so they have... Okay, I gotcha. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I can already see it.
Did you see the post in the group chat before we started?
Oh yeah, that's right, yes, they posted something, but I haven't had a chance to read it, so I can recognize by the picture now, so this is probably what it is. So I don't even know how they came to the conclusion, but let's assume if everything is hunky-dory in the way they did their methodology, then I would say this is, that's cool. So we got 3 species of Edmontosaurus basically now. And
the Nectin seems to have too much of a brow, I think.
There's too much of a brow, and also I think it's a little bit too small in comparison, unless the one on the right is supposed to be a bit closer to the camera. Does maybe it's kind of not really, it's closer to the camera. I can see it as well now because it's facing. Okay, so the female model of a Regalis is on the same sort of line, so they're about the same size. There are some presumably specimens that I've heard that have been cited of, I think it was Anectins, that were exceptionally large, almost getting towards the Xantungosaurus level. But if I am correct, they are not something you can consider to be a very common or average thing. So, if anything, they would have been just a very exceptional case, I would imagine. because if you look at something like Shantungosaurus, those ones are however many specimens there are of them already, they all are consistently pretty huge, you know. While with Edmontosaurus sample, you can see their specimens, it's quite a big, you know, how many of them, there's tons of them out there. And there's only a couple of them that are actually really big. So Magnapolia, Magnapolia is a large Lambeosaurin from Mexico, which basically looks almost like a copy and paste of Caritasaurus, but just bigger. I mean, of course, I'm oversimplifying it, but okay, so he's posted something. Fake news is right there. That paper states nothing new. Boomer, keep your mouth open for 5 minutes. Tells us how dry your mouth is. Yeah, there we go. How dry your mouth is. So is that an argument, mate? Is that actually an argument? I don't think so. We already know how the Splitosaurus had crocodilian facial integument. How your teeth feel. Oof. Get bent. Right, like I said before, this doesn't mean that other theropods had this. Well, I mean, okay, maybe not the same, but that doesn't exactly justify giving them extra oral tissue either. Anyway, I don't want to get too much into the discussions from other threads. That's actually irrelevant here, Z-Boomer, so I'm just gonna have to ask you to stop spamming them here. I looked at it briefly, but it's clearly not something related to this conversation. So do you have any questions to Mike related to the topic, or shall we wrap up the session? Because these are just, you know, threads and conversations. They are not part of this thread. They are not really relevant to what we have here. And as far as I'm concerned, it's not really an issue on what you do in your own personal time in other threads. So unless there is something that needs to be addressed specifically, or if somebody was slandering somebody from here, or myself directly, or Mike, or anyone, because, you know, me and Mike have experienced that both already hands-on. So okay, there's some question coming in. Nanotyrannos patar. Let me think. Raptorex Tyranno Nano Batar Libratus Gorgosaurus. It's like how to basically tin can all of those, you know. I mean, of course, okay. If you want to troll Dr. Thomas Carr, just find a way to come up with something that has Nanotyrannus and Gorgosaurus in it in the same name somehow, and just kind of be like, hey, have you heard there's this cool taxon out there? Just
private material, though.
Yeah, privately owned material, yeah. And I heard somebody is trying to sell it for $5 million. Just say something, I don't know, like Leonardo DiCaprio is offering $5 million for it. There we go. That would be enough to absolutely just send him to rage mode, probably. And the funny thing is, Dr. Carr is not somebody who would probably end up just sitting there and just literally, you know, going, you know, crazy. Like, he wouldn't end up shouting. He's the kind of guy you would see it on his face, even though he will be speaking calmly, but you will see that he's just literally ready to murder you. He's that type of person, you know, who doesn't display it verbally as much, but he would probably be looking at you that he's literally about to just like take your head off. Okay, is there anything else? Okay, guys. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Z-Boomer, do you have any other question relevant to the discussion, or do you guys think we can wrap up now? Maybe, okay. If you have a question, then ask away. Well, don't be sorry, just, you know, as I say, don't apologize, but learn your lesson and do better next time. You do better for yourself that way as well, you know. So okay, let's see this Tarbosaurus. Yeah, Tarbosaurus, Vatar, Gorgosaurus. Yeah, it used to be classified as some weird species of Gorgosaurus back in the days before it was properly described. It's just a juvenile Tarbosaurus, basically. Okay, let's see, Z-Boomer. We are waiting for your question. Do you have any opinion on Tyrannos, but outside of the old drama of feather Tyrannosaurids? Yes, I think Tyrannos is probably would have been. I would imagine it was quite a beautiful animal if it was fully restored to life. There is something very interesting about its skull and just the crest layout of it. You know, the nose and the brow, or shall I say, what are they? Post-orbital crests, the ones that are a little bit in front of the brows. Is that what you call them? No, lacrimal, I think.
Yeah.
And by the way, Mike, you were actually hinting that you wanted to try to sculpt a Tyrannos before, haven't you not?
Eventually, I probably will try, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see, definitely. It's an interesting animal, I can say that much, and unfortunately, though, there's only, well, I think it was only 3 specimens, and obviously they kind of mutually complete each other in terms of the parts that were preserved, but yeah, would have loved to see more of these to see how wide their growth arc can actually go, whether or not the biggest specimen is actually fully grown as well. It would be interesting, because the specimen, the biggest one, I think it's almost approaching the size of Albertosaurus and the like. And
yeah, it's around there, I think.
Around there, yeah. And they were not very heavily built, I think. They were about... They're quite lightly built, actually, comparably to, like, similar size. Like, the Spinosaurus is about same length, but it's definitely a stockier and heavier animal than a Tyrannos. So, yeah. So, do you have any thoughts on Tyrannos outside of the drama as well, Mike? Anything particularly interested that you like? Nothing to say? Okay, no worries. Alright, anything else, guys? Or are we... Brah, what? Okay, he's probably referring to the thing above. Okay, guys, let's see. Any more questions, or shall we wrap up now?
Thinking I'm ready to head outside here.
No questions on this part, and I'm expecting there might be some comments. Okay, never mind then. Okay, well, anyway, I think maybe it's a good idea to wrap up anyway, because it's gonna be going into huge lengths at this point, and we're just gonna end up rambling uselessly at this point, because we've covered most of the... Yeah. We can always do another session later, you know, when there's more stuff to discuss. So there's always gonna be projects to talk about. And we can next time we can maybe come in with a bigger group of people from our own group chat and just have a mass sort
that
of...
would be fun.
Yeah. Because I wanted to introduce people, you know, to... I mean, I wanted to introduce you to the audience first, and then after this we can sort of chime in everyone who's already been here before. So
maybe you do an early morning one for you. Your time.
Early morning one for me.
Yeah. Well,
that would be like late night probably for you at that point. Yeah,
exactly.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, we can ask and see who... Because Josh is in the same area, Brandon is in the same area as well.
Yeah, Josh, the same time zone.
Jeffrey's close, he's only like 1 hour difference with you.
Yeah. But I think Jason is...
Jason would be probably quite close as well, I'm not sure though. Depends where he's
3
at.
hours.
Yeah.
He's 3 hours ahead, I'm pretty sure.
Right, okay, so Mike, I want to thank you for coming to the show and to my channel and for answering some questions, and just generally was quite fun finally to introduce you to my audience, and let's hope to see more of these kids coming out of you.
Yeah. Hopefully.
So I hope you enjoyed the session as well, and guys, thanks very much for sticking all the way through and sitting all the way through the session as well, and we shall definitely talk to you later. And in the meantime, me and Mike are gonna get back to our precious work. So, ciao and take care. Adios, amigos.
See ya.
See you a
Thanks.
lot.